Hey there, Hawkers. Hope you are all doing okay after Sunday. That was something else. Honestly, I can't even put into words how disappointed I am after that woeful performance. I've never been so disappointed in this football club than I am right now, to be honest. There's so much I want to say, but at this point, I can't even begin to find the words to describe how I feel. So let's just get into the review and see how we lost this game of footy by nearly 80 points in back-to-back games against the Swans. The first quarter started off very promisingly. We did admittedly have issues getting it out of Sydney's forward half, and it was kind of clear from the first bounce that they weren't taking any chances like they did against Richmond. They turned on the heat early, and we struggled big time to not only get our hands on the footy, but also keep it in our possession, and the uncontested mark count was going heavily into the Swans' favour. Despite this though, we were level at the 20-minute mark and could have had extra momentum go our way with a beautiful set shot from Blake Hardwick that was unfortunately disallowed due to Chol's dumb off-ball clash with Errol Gordon. Sydney then went on to kick the next 4 goals in rapid-fire fashion before the quarter ended, and to be honest, I think all Hawks fans kinda knew where this was going after that. The second quarter started off hot. Both teams were applying immense pressure on the other, but it was clear that Sydney were just better drilled for these situations. It always seemed like they were able to find an easy kick out of congestion compared to us. We were just over handballing, putting other teammates under even more pressure, and inevitably just turning the ball over again and again. We're actually playing some decent footy this quarter though, but just really poor inside 50s just kept preventing us from being rewarded for our dominant play. We led the inside 50 count for the quarter, but the difference is just in Sydney's efficiency. We had the ball in our half for 63% of the play in that quarter, but only managed to score from 9% of our inside 50s compared to Sydney's 67%. Late in the quarter, the Swans seemed to have shaken off our promising dominance around the ground and still ended up laying 14 more tackles than us and just looked so much better and composed with the ball. In the third quarter, the Swans really put the nail in the coffin. They were looking so dangerous in the midfield. They scored 51 points from stoppages compared to our measly 15, despite the fact that we were winning the ground ball gets and contested possessions for the quarter quite convincingly as well. Just a fun little fact, normally when teams are winning these stats, they win about 66% of the time. That was in 2023 anyway, so it just says a lot about our skill execution. We looked a little bit better out of the gates in that last quarter, but we still weren't able to really do anything with the ball. Sydney's defense was just too cohesive and well drilled. Our entries were very poor, and to make things even worse, we were having a shocking day in front of goal. Final margin probably wouldn't have looked so bad if we were 12 goals 5 instead of 5 goals 12, and that doesn't even count all the entries we could have scored from had it not been for just horrible kicking inside 50. Some are very annoyed and a little perplexed by Sam Mitchell's comments after the game, but you can kind of see where he was coming from. We smashed the Swans at the contest in this quarter, and for most of the game, really. We won the clearance count and the centre clearance count quite convincingly, but we just weren't punishing them enough for this dominance. And then conversely, Sydney were just so much better at punishing us off of turnovers. They might not be great at winning the ball, but they are so good at applying pressure to generate scores off turnovers. Their skills are just elite. They're so much better than ours. And good teams are just going to keep exploiting this. Like, how can we expect to win games as a football side with poor kicking like this? It's just, we're never going to beat the teams above us. We're only ever going to be able to contend with those poor sides that also have this same issue. Our midfield is also just way too one-dimensional. We just lack that damaging kick coming out of the centre bounce. Newcomb, Nash, Warple and Day are all great ball winners in their own right, but they aren't very good kicks admittedly, and I really think that there needs to be a little bit of a shake-up in our midfield structure soon because we won't be able to beat those teams above us if we can't capitalise on our clearance wins. To put this into perspective, the aforementioned players all rank either above average to elite when it comes to clearances, contested possessions, and ground ball gets, but are all average to below average when it comes to their kicking efficiency. We drafted players like Ward, McKenzie, and McDonald specifically for their ball use, yet they rarely ever see inside midfield minutes, maybe with the exception of McKenzie. Let's not get ahead of ourselves as a football club and think that we can genuinely contend for finals like what was speculated in the off-season. We are so far off of that level, so why not just play those younger players more minutes? I just don't understand. Our forward line is also a little bit of an issue at the moment. Mitch Lewis just can't stay healthy. Chol clearly isn't a number one option and struggles to make an impact aerially in games. Too many times on Sunday did we bomb it long into a congested forward line with only one serious marking target. Against a defence of Sydney's calibre, how can we expect to score efficiently from entries when we have no chance of putting any pressure on the likes of McCartan, Milliken or Blakey? Ginnivan could have tallied his highest goal contribution for the year, but missed all of his chances. Hardwick is a last resort option if we desperately need goals, but in my opinion, we need him more down back. And apart from that, who did we even have? Gunston is clearly past his best and would be better suited with two taller players around him like early in his career. Bruce is having ongoing injury issues, being old as he is, and Ramsden and Butler have never seemed to make big enough of an impact at AFL level. Perhaps it's time for Wingard to come back in. Maybe we need someone with his class to give our forward line a little bit more potency, and I think the return of Nick Watson will help with that too. We might look better if everyone was healthy, but at this point in the season, we just seem so lost and directionless as a football side, and there's no clear game plan, no recognisable brand of footy like what we saw last year, and it's leaving fans very confused. If the only club we can be and contend with is North Melbourne, then we aren't going to end up being much better come the end of the season. We have a rough couple of weeks coming up as well against the Dogs, Saints, Port and Brisbane, and if we don't come out of those games with at least one win, then we face serious threat of a wooden spoon finish for 2024, and that's just the sad reality of this football club at the moment. Anyway, enough of my rant. We need to tally up some votes for the Hawthorn HQ medal, so let's see who played well despite such a horrible performance as a team. Jack Scrimshaw, in my opinion, actually had a pretty solid game after a shaky first term. It's clear he has gone to work on his defensive craft this year, and he racked up 21 disposals, 9 marks, and 7 intercept possessions, and to top that off, he finished the game with 86% disposal efficiency. He always showed a cool head coming out of defence, and he's our saving grace at the moment. 2 votes will go to Jai Newcomb. While I didn't really rate his first half performance at all, he responded well and was able to help us win the midfield battle in the second half and finished with 24 disposals, 9 contested possessions, and 6 clearances, and to top it off, he also kicked a goal. 3 votes will go to Dylan Moore in back-to-back weeks. Against North, he was dangerous in front of goals, but on Sunday, he was able to gather a lot of the footy and looked dangerous with 8 score involvements. He finished with 25 disposals and a goal, so very deserving of the 3. And looking at the tally after the Sydney game, Dylan Moore has now overtaken James Worpel with very impressive back-to-back performances. Jai Newcomb gets back-to-back 2 voters and slots nicely into 3rd place, and Scrimshaw gets his 2nd vote of 2024 to draw level with Mabi or Chol. Anyway, that's all from me, Hawkers. Hope you all have a great week. Try not to let this result ruin your mood too much. We are a young side, and perhaps we are all being too harsh on them. I think we need to see a really big response after that against the Dogs, particularly from our more experienced players. Those are the ones our young lads will look to when the pressure is on, and there's no better opportunities to get some upset wins than against the Dogs and the Saints. They clearly look vulnerable this year, and we will talk about that in my preview, so stay tuned. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and leave a comment of what players you think deserved votes for Sunday. See you guys next time, and peace out.